Hey, it's Bobby. I was just about to do my day, whatever day it is today. So we'll end with that and just say, it's today. Welcome to now. Time's an illusion anyway, or so they tell us, right? So I want to continue the conversation that we had on energy. And at the risk of going a little bit too woo-woo, although my suspicion is if you're still with me on day 8, 9, wherever we are now, that you're probably okay with woo-woo. Probably lost all of the ones that weren't some time ago. And so I want to talk about checking in with your energy and see how that went. And also kind of revisit Zen Dad one more time and look at where his energy was when it was there. There is actually a video where they interview him afterwards and kind of explain what was going on. And he said that he noticed that the kid was getting more and more amped up over a period of a couple of weeks. And he knew that that big tantrum was coming. So kudos to him for the sensory awareness to be tuned in enough with his kid to be able to sense that's coming and to be able to do the work on himself so that he could be grounded and centered and aligned deeply enough to react the way that he did when the tantrum finally occurred. And that's kind of what we're going to begin to explore in the next couple of videos. How do we energetically influence the way that we make our way through the human experience, through the perception? And how does that affect the influence that we're having on others? This paradigm shift that I've been hinting at and talking about, I'm going to talk a little bit more overtly right now. Several videos back, we talked about the fact that it looks like, it appears that our feelings are telling us about our circumstances. That when we're upset, I shared with you that I kind of lost it with my dog. 2:00 in the morning, I was tired. I wasn't maintaining my energy. She was tired. She wanted to go to bed and snuggle. So she is whining, the label that I gave it at that time. Another label that I could have given to it is, she's loving me, letting her know that at these final stages of her life, the thing that she loves more than anything is sitting and snuggling with me. Same exact thing. It's just how I interpreted it at the moment. It's the shift of perspective that we begin to see things a little bit differently. We see that life doesn't happen to us. Life flows through us. It's a one-way game. And once you get that understanding, what that's going to do is interrupt your pattern, because the conditioning has been, and this conditioning began the moment that you could talk innocently and ignorantly. Your parents began to do a disservice to you that their parents had done to them, and has been happening for generations and generations. It's a disservice that reinforces the illusion. And for the little kid who's just learning to talk, we're actually introducing the illusion, this idea of separateness. And in a couple of weeks, as this journey continues, we're going to look at that really, really deeply. But I want to take you through this journey to the point where you can see first that life flows through you. And you've noticed when you've been in a particularly good mood, people around you, as long as they're not in a deep, dark place, people around you will tend to come up to the mood that you're at. But you can't ask them to come too much, because if somebody's in a deep, dark place, the last thing that they want to have happen to them is somebody come walking into their ecology, into their surroundings, their environment, into their space, with a super positive attitude. And they'll let you know right away. They're like, I do not want to hear any of your positive mental thoughts. Might drop an F-bomb in there someplace. It's too much. It's too big of a leap. But if you're particularly up and you go walking into a room and you're just like got positive Tourette's instead of, cussing, you're like, oh man, you look great today. Hey, I love that top that you're wearing. Oh my God, have you lost weight? And not because it's an empty positive aphorism just to attempt to make somebody feel good. But if you're actually exuding that in the moment, if you're connecting with other people, you will bring them up to your level, as long as you're not asking to make them take too much of a leap. Why does that happen? Because life flows through us. It doesn't happen to us. And I want to invite you to explore what I see as truth, that your feelings have zero to do with your circumstances. They have zero to do with your circumstances. They have 100% to do with what's going on the inside. Your feelings are an eternal weather report. Now, one thing that causes people to have this concept become a little sticky for them, meaning that it won't flow through. It's kind of like we're sitting here watching a creek and leaves are going by, branches are going by, ducks and geese are floating by, and we're just watching the progress. But then all of a sudden a limb comes and that limb gets wedged between the bank and a rock. And now all of a sudden other things are coming up against that limb and they're getting stuck. Well, some of our thoughts can be sticky too. And one thing that might cause you to have this concept be a little bit sticky for you right now is, wait a second, you can't tell me that when I get a letter from the IRS telling me that they're going to freeze my account if I don't write them a check right away, that's going to make me feel bad. Or if I'm in a great relationship and I finally found out my significant other's been having an affair, I'm going to feel like shit. And I'm not arguing that. Shit feelings will arise, but it still is a weather report about what's going on, because that shit feeling that you're feeling in that moment is telling you about your thinking and the fact that you, for the moment, have identified with that thinking. And I'm going to give you one little analogy. It's a story a friend of mine told me once upon a time, just to have you thinking about that for a moment. And if this isn't working, this is a good time to be asking a question and posting something in the group. If this is not making sense to you, please ask the question, because this is not a place that you want to get stuck. And you can get stuck, just like that limb that wedges between the rock and the bank. So here's the story first. A friend of mine was on a TV show called Put It to the Test. And on that TV show, they would take, certain phenomenon and see if it was true. And he said the day that he was there, there was a stunt driver who was testing to see, is it actually possible to stop a car on a dime? And he did it. But that's not why my friend Michael was there. He was there to put a hypnotic fast phobia cure to the test. And they had people there that were afraid of spiders, and they were going to bring them in and bring out a box full of spiders. They were hooked up to, brain gear. And so they could see the mental vibrations when the people started to panic. And Michael was going to work on them and use some hypnotic protocols to cure a phobia. And phobias are the easiest thing to cure because they're instantly installed. If you know what you're doing, they can be instantly removed. It's an amazing hypnotic phenomenon that's there. And he was there to put that to the test. But the thing that was cool was, and he was able to do it, and it's a rather simple protocol, but they had the people, they hooked them up to the brain scan equipment during the dress rehearsal, so that they wouldn't be trying this on for the first time. And then one of the producers comes walking in with a clear acrylic box that you can see in, and said, when we actually are live in front of the studio audience, this box will be filled with spiders. And immediately, the EEG's machine just start going absolutely nuts, demonstrating in that moment that these particular people were not afraid of spiders. There were no spiders present in the box. There probably weren't any spiders present in the building in that moment. But the thought of the spiders being there allowed them to time travel to later that night and experience that reality, that perceived threat that they'd made up in their head. But what we think and feel, we make real. So as we continue to explore this, and in the next video, we're going to look at the interconnectedness of body, mind, and spirit, which we think about three separate things. And we will kind of de-chunk those and look at them separately for just a little bit, but ultimately we're going to bring them back into communion with one another, into unity, into union. Yoga, I mentioned earlier that we're all yogas and yoginis on this journey. So we'll bring body, mind, and spirit back into union, only one eventually. But before we do, we're going to take them even a little bit further apart and see if we can do a little critical analysis along the way. So enjoy. Ciao for now.